Yerp, it's Perp back with another video, and I just got done checking out the brand new Beavis and Butthead movie on Paramount Plus. It's called Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe, and this is kind of Beavis and Butthead coming back into like the kind of pop culture zeitgeist of just other things that are coming back from the 90s and stuff like that. And I definitely see why they put this on Paramount Plus, because it's dope to kind of see them back, and I hope that they do bring back the series, even using this kind of art style, even though I don't know how I really feel about it. I'm a little mixed with it. I prefer the 90s version. I actually prefer the very first Beavis and Butthead movie. That was a movie that did pretty well, and I think is definitely could be considered a classic. So this movie definitely doesn't live up to that, but I think there's things to enjoy about it. It's a very simple and dumb kind of plot, as all Beavis and Butthead stories kind of are. I do like the certain things that they try to do as far as the humor goes. Some of the jokes hit for me. Some of the scenes in this kind of drag too long. This movie kind of almost feels longer than it should be, and I think that kind of goes to the pacing, and the pacing is probably the thing that kind of hurts this movie the most, because the movie starts off right back in the 90s, like 98 or 96, around that time, and Beavis and Butthead are just doing their thing. They end up getting themselves into trouble like they always do, and somehow it goes from that to them getting into space camp. Yeah, that's where it starts off at, right? It's the science fair at their school, and for their science project, they end up Beavis comes up with the idea of just kicking Butthead comes up with the idea of just kicking Beavis in the nuts, and they come across like this huge, just kind of like, I don't know where this really came from. It was this like machine that literally ended up getting them in trouble. Pretty much, like, you would have to wait to kind of see. You would have to kind of see it for yourself to understand what I'm saying. It was just so ridiculous. It ended up like almost burning down the whole entire school, which leads them to somehow get into Space Academy. Like, I don't know where it really ends up being really random at times. Like, it just jumps from one thing to the next. It's not so much like a universe type, like a multiverse type of movie, even though they try to put that in here, and it's really underused. That whole multiverse type of element to this just was really underused, and it was kind of disappointing at the same time. So they end up getting to NASA, and they make NASA seem really dumb. Like, every character is really dumb, and they really believe that, I don't know, man. Like, every character is really dumb in this movie, pretty much, for the most part. And so we get to NASA, and we get introduced to this character named Serena, and she is pretty much the big bad. Like, she's kind of like the main villain, or the main objective for Beavis and Butthead, because, as you know, if you have never seen Beavis and Butthead, I don't know what to tell you. All their goal is to score, is to have sex. And it's interesting how this actually ends as well, because in this you also have iterations of Beavis and Butthead that are the smartest, which I think it was an interesting twist, because they look like the Watcher from Marvel Comics and stuff, and that was pretty funny. And it's interesting that Disney kind of let them get away with that. So once they figured out, okay, we're here on this mission. They were put here because, for some odd reason, NASA thought that they cracked the code to some shit. It was dumb. Then it ends up going pretty much left, and Serena ends up becoming fed up with Beavis and Butthead and tries to kill them, but fails to do so, because what ends up happening is they fall into a black hole, and then that's where they get thrown into modern day, which is interesting because they do play around with a lot of different ideas with Beavis and Butthead in modern day, which was pretty funny in my opinion. Like the fact that Beavis and Butthead figured out that they had white privilege. I really liked how they handled that. That was pretty funny. And just how they deal with technology and figuring out that you could pay with everything. You could pay things with your phone and stuff like that. Little things like that were pretty interesting. But overall, I think something is really missing about this movie. It kind of lacks something. I don't know what it really is off the top of my head. It's just something about it. It's really forgettable because they could have really done something interesting with the whole multiverse type of aspect to this, and they could have just jumped through different types of time. I don't know. They could have just gone really wacky with it, and they just kind of really underused that whole entire thing. That whole entire narrative, or just that idea, I should say. Yeah, I think you will find some entertainment out of this. I do hope that they do come back with a series. I would definitely watch that. It kind of sets that up with this movie. So that would be cool to see them continue the series in that type of way. I think this almost kind of felt like a throwaway. Like there's some things that they're going to make you laugh, but the pacing and just the plot overall, I thought was just very bare bone. Looking back at Beavis and Butthead Do America, I think that was better executed. For one, I don't think they were trying to do too much, and at the time, obviously, Beavis and Butthead was much more popular, so it was going to definitely be harder to bring this into the modern era. I'm curious to see how people feel about this movie, if it ends up just being a hit for everybody and it just gets really good word of mouth. If you did get to see this, let me know your thoughts. What are your thoughts of Beavis and Butthead? Would you be down for them to return in some type of way? Yeah, till next time, I will see y'all in the next one. Peace.